I'm Jessica Kroeker, and I'm the coordinator of the Trauma-Informed Community Initiative Trauma Matters Omaha. And understanding the way that the brain works is important because it can help inform us in ways that we can respond in trauma-sensitive ways to those who've been impacted by trauma or are being triggered. The brain develops from the bottom up. The wrist is representative of the brainstem, which controls heartbeat, blood pressure, temperature. It is the part of the brain that is developing in the beginning phases of life. Since babies' brains are still developing in these areas, they depend on adults to provide support and regulation. If a baby becomes upset and throws a tantrum, there are many strategies, including speaking to them in soothing tones, removing loud noises or bright stimuli. This external regulation helps the baby's body to regulate their breathing, their blood pressure, nervous systems, and they calm down. Near the center of the brain, represented by the thumb, we have the amygdala. This is the part of the brain that is responsible for regulating feelings and also our fight, flight, freeze response. When somebody has a traumatic experience, a trigger, or someone pushes their emotional button, this part of the brain becomes engaged. When the amygdala is engaged, everything seems exaggerated, and the brain becomes focused on surviving this current moment and not concerned with long-term consequences or other elements of critical thinking. When the amygdala is engaged, it sends messages throughout the body in the forms of things like adrenaline, cortisol, and that sends signals to the brainstem and other parts of the body in which they must respond. That is how we then see spikes in breathing or blood pressure. The upstairs part of the brain is the prefrontal cortex. It is responsible for critical thinking, problem solving, and what is often referred to as executive function. This part of the brain thinks more clearly about cause and effect and long-term consequences. When the upstairs part of the brain is engaged, someone is much more able to take responsibility or problem solve. When we or the people we are working with are in crisis, have been triggered, or experienced a traumatic experience, we can flip our lids and go from the critical thinking of our prefrontal cortex to an engaged amygdala. It can activate our fight, flight, freeze response and cause our brains and bodies to become dysregulated. There are things we can do to help ourselves and others calm our bodies and brains and help get our prefrontal cortex back online. One strategy is the 3 R's: regulation, relate, and reason. When we're working with someone who has flipped their lid, it is common to want to rationalize with them, but that is not where their brain is functioning. Instead, think, what are ways we can help them or ourselves to regulate? Taking deep breaths, taking some space, going for a walk, using mindfulness or grounding techniques can help the brainstem regulate the body's physical symptoms. After focusing on regulation, we then focus on relating. Acknowledging the other person, share a moment of connection, check in with how they're doing. Then we can get to reason, when we can think critically about the situation, problem solve, or hold them accountable for their actions. When we or the people we are working with flip our lids, we can help come back down by first regulating, relating, and reasoning. And that is how understanding the brain can help us respond in more effective and sensitive ways.